Do you find that you're already caught up in the doing instead of in the being that you committed to at the beginning of the year? If you have, I understand, and I've got you. We're going to dive into it just a little bit in this episode of Soul Fusion. So stay tuned and we're going to get into it. Hey, everybody, it is Penny here, and let's get into this concept of staying on the path or staying in the work, which really, who wants to stay in work, right? Nobody wants to do that. But oftentimes, you hear it called staying in the work. In other words, learning and programming yourself to stay on the path of being in your being and not get caught up in the doing. There are a few things that are prompting this episode, and there are some questions that came up recently which you might be able to resonate with. We don't want to get caught up in our doing, so let's just go here first. The difference between being and doing. When we're in our being, we're mindful, we are present with ourselves, and our attention is on how we are showing up, how we are showing up through our energy, our intention, and our actions. Being in our doing means that we drop into our habits and we're not thinking about our being, we're operating from the programs of what we've been told we have to do, we should do, the time frame that we should do them. And this is where we get into the cycle of overcommitment, of exhaustion, of feeling as if things are never done. Because here's the reality. When we get caught up in doing, and especially if our mind has been programmed over the years from the time we were in school or even before, that our success is measured by our level of productivity or output, it's easy to fall into that habit and we don't even realize we're doing it. How does that happen? Well, when we're in our being and we're following through and we're taking action, we're using our will to follow through on our intent to co-create with the universe. So example, in business, or maybe if you're a painter and you're an artist and that type of thing, there are going to be certain things that we get to do to be successful. But we want to be the successful person and we take actions. It is the being that inspires the action instead of the action driving to the end result. We want to be the end result energetically and emotionally first. And when we understand that there are just certain focused, intentional things that when we take those actions, they are going to multiply, we can co-create with ease. And notice I didn't say easy, but with ease. There are actions, if you have a business, there are actions that you have to take to have a successful business. You don't, and successful business people will tell you this, you don't sit back and just allow success to unfold, though sometimes that's the way it looks on the outside. It creates a lot of confusion for entrepreneurs, people who are, hitting these mid six figures and even close to seven. We do this because we want freedom. We want freedom in our life. We want freedom to be. But when you get these mixed messages around ease and it gets to be easy, it can create confusion because easy implies we're not doing anything, whereas ease is a mindset, not a state of action. You can take a lot of action and do it with ease. And it's all about who you're being. If you're taking action and it's exhausting and it's frustrated, then most likely you are stuck in your doing and you're not taking action from your being. So you're pushing and forcing and attempting to make something happen. So someone had said to me last week, Penny, you talked to me about using some self hypnosis, and it sounded like you were talking about a lot of doing instead of being. And this was the example, more or less, that I gave them. Back when I would work with new entrepreneurs, there was a reason I moved away from that. And it's because I was turning a lot of people down. And it was turning these people down because they believed they had a money mindset block, because they were wanting to manifest a full coaching calendar without doing any marketing. If no one knows who you are, if no one knows what you're doing, how are they going to find a link and book? It's not magic. You have to show up, right? So I started turning those people away. I would ask a few key questions and I would turn them away. That's not a money mindset block. That's not wanting to take action. And go take your action. And if you find you're procrastinating or you're doing any list of things, come back. And there's some hypnosis work that we can do together. But people who are in their being are taking action. It's the law of cause and effect. It's the law of reciprocity. It's the law of karma when you're putting good things out into the world. So we get to co-create. The other thing is, someone had asked me about habits. They said, are all habits brain-based? And yes, they are. There are different types of habits, and I will come back and do a separate episode on that. But basically, habits allow our mind to thrive in the sense that it's not burning unnecessary calories. So if there's already a neural pathway there that will allow the brain to take you through without burning calories on thinking and problem solving, it will do that. And that's the reason it's so easy to fall back into the pattern of doing, even after you've learned about operating from your being. So, how do we stop the yo yo of being in our being and then finding ourselves once again sucked into the doing and exhausted when that wasn't our plan? Well, the first thing is to learn to practice mindfulness. One of the things that I do is at the beginning of each day, I set my intention on what I'm going to do. And I'm very intentional around that to follow through to make sure that it's done. And I don't set the intention for the whole day, it's micro intentions all the way through the day. So my intention was to sit and to record this podcast. Before I hit record, there was a knock on the door, and someone in my family was like, are you available to da da da? I said, is it an emergency? No, no, I'm working. I set my intention to get this recorded in a certain time block, and I'm following through. When I'm done with this, my next intention will be the steps to get this off, to get it edited and prepped and uploaded and all the things that have to be done. And then my next intention for the next action. So use micro intentions, a checklist if you need to, digital calendar, I don't care. Set micro intentions for what you're doing and be very mindful of what it is that you're doing. This is how you build a new habit of being present, being mindful, and being in the moment of what you're doing. And in that space, when other interruptions come in, you can catch yourself and say, okay, is this a hair on fire? I need to stop what I'm doing? Or is this my habit brain wanting to pull me away and jump back into an old pattern of needing to interrupt myself and do? as you notice that, you will begin to break down, not break down, it depends on the type of habit it is, but you will begin to build a new habit of presence in being. You may go through a stretch where it's really, really good, and then you have something happen in your life where you're really busy, something unexpected comes up, it throws you off your routine, and temporarily, maybe you really need to go head down focused and get some stuff done and just move through some stuff. Remember to come back to being when that's done, because if that was your original pattern, your mind would go, oh, we're back in the doing. Let's start operating this way again. But sometimes things will happen in life where we have to sprint and we have to do things in succession to move through a situation or a scenario. So to our brain, it feels like we're doing, but we're intentional about what we've set out to do. So be mindful, set micro intentions, and pay attention to when your mind wants to take you away from those micro intentions and redirect yourself back. Make your micro intentions non negotiable unless there is an emergency that you're like, you know what, I have to push pause. I have to deal with this. I'll be back. And I mean, real emergencies. If it's not a real emergency, but you're telling yourself it's an emergency, chances are there's an old story or belief running underneath the surface that in your mind is causing you to feel that it's more important than what you had set your intention to do. I'll see you next week.